Hey, 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 welcome to the Create With Us podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Create Web Studios, Create With Us podcast, where we take you behind the screens. My name is Brett Barley. I'm here joined as always by my man, Jeff Vinn. Jeff, what's good, dude? What's going on?
We are looking forward to a good show today. We always like to dive into people who specialize in certain areas. So we have another special guest with a specialty that ought to inform our audience, and perhaps we'll learn a little bit too.
You are right about that. So today we have Deborah Finestone from Finestone Marketing Solutions. Let me tell you a little bit about Deborah real quick. Deborah makes social media less stressful for purpose-driven entrepreneurs and nonprofits by helping them market more effectively on social media so that they can reach more customers and tell them their story. So without further ado, we're super excited. Let's welcome on in Deborah Finestone. Deborah, come on down. Deborah, what's going on?
I feel like you need to do the running in like you're doing
That's right.
or something.
That's right. That's right. That's right. You are the next one down. So welcome on in, Deborah. We're so excited to have you today. How's it going? First of all, happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day.
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's talk a little bit about what it is you do, Deborah. We're super excited to have you and kind of delve into a little bit about it. So let's jump right in. Deborah, tell us a little bit about where you're from, what you do. Tell us about your hustle.
Sure. So I live in the San Francisco Bay Area in California, so the other sunny coast. San Francisco's not sunny, but although it's rainy today, actually, we have winter. Look at that.
Yeah, right.
And I'm a social media marketer. I help small businesses and nonprofits either as a strategist for them and train them how to do their own social media better, or just take it over for them and manage it. And yeah, I've been doing that almost 7 years now.
Very good. Awesome. Awesome. So how did you, I mean, before I get into that, we all know the importance of social media for companies and branding and kind of getting your company out to people and what you're all about. So we all know the importance of it, and that's a great thing to be helping people with for sure. There's plenty of people that could use help with it, right? So Deborah, why don't you tell us a little bit about how did you get into that career path? Like, how did you decide that that's what you wanted to do for companies?
Sure. So I started my career almost 20 years ago. Very different path. I was a journalist for the first 12 years of my career. I mostly wrote about finance, financial markets, bonds and currencies, like almost as dry as you can imagine, which I did really like. I did it for 12 years. I did enjoy it. It was interesting. But one thing that I noticed is that when I would read the Wall Street Journal, I actually worked for a sister publication of the Wall Street Journal. So I was always reading the journal. And you would think because of what I was writing that I would go to the finance section, the money and finance section first, but I usually didn't. I always liked reading the media and marketing section first. It was just a little bit more interesting. I liked kind of the combination of business acumen that went into it with the psychology of kind of going behind how do people think and how do they make decisions and how do they decide what they want to buy and who they like, so who they want to work with. And so it actually goes pretty far back that I was interested in marketing. About 8 years ago, I switched careers. I moved into a marketing department at a different company and eventually kind of did a few more different roles before starting my own business, doing the social media one. About 6 years ago is when I really kind of narrowed down to social media. I decided to take a certification course and again, just kind of really found this is what I like. I like this. It works really well for me because I like telling stories. I like writing. I love talking to people. I love learning about people, but it also uses that more analytical side of my brain and the little more kind of business minded side that, I really love what I do. It just kind of that combination of everything makes it really fun.
That's awesome. And they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right?
Exactly.
So that's perfect. Is there a certain type of customer that you work for, or a certain type of you know what I'm saying? Is there a certain type of like I guess niche or a niche that you work for? Is it kind of general? Have you kind of found a particular? I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was
I'm gonna spit it out eventually. Easy for me to say.
I haven't niched down yet. Partially because I like it's just fun having a lot of different things to be talking about, and kind of the creativity of this will work for this kind of business and this will work for that kind of business, and something totally different will work for something else. So you have to think of it a little bit different, especially nonprofits versus small businesses. It's not a profit goal. There's something else they're going for. So it's all a little bit different. I love working with nonprofits. Otherwise, I work with a pretty wider range of businesses. It is usually pretty small. I define small by they don't have a marketing person. In most cases, it's the business owner doing it themselves. Maybe someone on their team has been handling it so far and they just want some help with it. Or, but I put in there people who are purpose driven, and it's not quite the same, I think, as mission driven. It's not the same as heart centered. That doesn't resonate with me, but it's you are doing your business because you have something good to put out in the world and you want to put that out in the world. You want to help more people find out about that, so that you can serve more people. So while I don't have a really noble job, I'm a marketer. The way I see what I do is that I get to help other people help more people, serve more people, put something good out into the world, something that, is positive.
So you mentioned these companies that you help often don't have a marketing department. That's one of the things. What do you see as the top problems your customers are facing? Like, why don't they get out on social media? Like, what do businesses miss about it? Is it just mainly a time thing in most cases?
Partially it's a time thing. It's also a not knowing what to do thing. It's okay, I may know that I should be posting on social media, but what do I post? What do I say? What will work better? I think a lot of people do things that just end up being ineffective. It's not bringing you business. It's not bringing you the kind of people that you want to be attracting necessarily. And then it doubles down on itself, right? Because now I'm spending the time on it and it feels like a waste of time because it's not working. So not knowing what to post is one thing. Consistency is another one. A lot of people will post when they have something to share or have something to sell, is usually what it is, or maybe something comes to them. But it's inconsistent, and that's not a really good experience for your audience, for the people, again, that you want to be attracting. It doesn't do a good job of letting them get to know you so that they know they want to do business with you.
Gotcha. So you mentioned like the actual messaging and the branding, because a lot of people, they probably have certain expertise in running or starting this business, but communicating that out to the world in a way that makes sense, that's an issue. By the way, I'm hearing typing. Are you guys hearing that? Little typing clicks? No?
I'm not sure. Yeah, it might be the StreamYard ghost. I've heard about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The StreamYard typing goes. So
I was like, I'm not typing, so I don't know.
So the positioning of the messaging of the brand and telling that story correctly, and then consistency is an issue they face. Yeah. Walk us through like a customer that means a bit to you that you've taken from one place, describe their frustrations, and take us along that journey to where you've brought them today.
Sure. So one of my clients he runs a newsletter that's about climate change and finance. So his background is as a publisher and editor for financial publications. And he's always been interested in climate change and, kind of the environmental side of it. So it's the businesses and policies that go into how do we handle this problem, but then how do you invest to make it work? So both helping to solve the problem, but then you also benefiting from it because it's a good investment. So that's been a really fun thing for me to work on because, like I said, it brings in my background doing finance, but I've also kind of been a bleeding heart environmentalist my whole life. When I was a kid, my parents let me support like Save the Whales and World Wildlife Fund. So when he started this newsletter last year, he had no social media. It was nothing. He was literally just starting the newsletter. And so he's like, I can do the news, but how do I, do the social part of it? And again, it's to get more people to know who you are, what you're doing, and wanting to care, in that case, so that they subscribe. And so it's been a lot of fun because I get to read all the news. They create all the content. That one's actually pretty easy in that regard. Nice. They have plenty of content to share.
Oh, I think
we have a little. having a little freeze of the screen and internet bandwidth issues.
It's the StreamYard ghost. I told you about this guy. He's been haunting us for a second. Deborah, I think we might have you back. Deborah, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay, great. The last we heard, you were kind of talking about how you got started from an early age about concern. I guess looking out from a 10,000 foot view on how you kind of got into everything. So if you don't mind, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I want to jump back in here though. So we have
sure.
the climate change person. They were giving you all the content and things like that. I was going to ask this. There's a plethora of networks to choose. So you can do like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. There's now TikTok. There's Instagram. And then each platform kind of has its own way to do it, right? On Instagram, you can put in a long text and description, but you can't have a link. You can't have any font things. Of course, right. Twitter, it seems to be fading for what we're seeing, but a lot shorter. So do you have certain networks that are kind of a guarantee, or like how do you filter through what networks businesses should get active on?
So I always do that analysis of where are you now? Where is the client now? And where are your potential clients or your customers, and kind of working it from there. So in this case, this client was active on Twitter. He had a very big Twitter following, again, because it's big for certain industries, one of which is news. And so that was a good platform for him. LinkedIn makes sense. It's finance. It's that very kind of professional level. He also had a big Facebook following, and more or less everybody's on Facebook. So we went with Facebook also. So we do all three of them. So yes, it's that little bit more work of what do you say on LinkedIn and Facebook, where you have plenty of space. You can include the link and the picture. And what do you do on Twitter? It's a little bit different, obviously, because it has to be much shorter. But it could also be a little bit more fun. And that's something that I've been doing with him, is the articles. They're very informative and it's very important information. But again, you have a very small, quick attention span, especially on social, from people. So you have to get their attention very quickly. So either summarizing it in a little bit more simplified form, or sometimes taking a little bit of a stand, being a little more, not political, but not as direct newsy, which they do a good job of. It's very balanced reporting, actually balanced. But for our publication, it's very clear that we care about climate change and we care about taking care of the environment. So I can say something like, it's positive news that China is doing this, or it's sad that an island in Australia is on fire. It makes us all sad. So those are the things that also make a little bit of a difference on social. This client, again, is a little bit different than a lot of them, but it's that letting that personality through. And I've known the client for years, so I know him and I'm comfortable speaking in his voice and having a sense of humor that I know he'll know and sounds like him. He makes a lot of like baseball metaphors and he knows old movies and stuff. So
yes, we're finding as we explore the space, so we do, website, all the online marketing things, digital ads and so forth, that people don't necessarily want like 10 posts in a row about, increase your website conversions by 30% or 7 things you should stop doing. They like the behind the scenes, the culture, the stuff that's more from the heart. And what I find is it's pretty easy to have imposter syndrome on social media, right? Just take blanket climate change statements, or don't speak anything controversial or something that may be more moving, but it's actually the opposite is true. And have you seen that? The more in touch you get with who they are, the better the response is, the more authentic the interaction seems.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something I've played around with. The best example I can think of from my experience is actually something I've played around with myself, because some of my clients won't do this yet. But it's where you show the behind the scenes. It's where you tell a little bit about your life. That's where people respond. And again, the thing is that, especially for service providers, if what you need to show enough of yourself so someone can decide, do they like you? Do they want to work with you? Are they someone, it doesn't necessarily even have to be something in common, but just getting that feeling of who you are as a person. So one of my examples is last year I posted a picture completely out of character. It had nothing to do with my marketing business. It was it was on my anniversary. It was a picture of my husband and I at our wedding, which was a couple years ago. And it was just a shout out to him of being a great partner. And partnership is something important in business. And so I did tie it back in that way. But it's literally a snapshot from a wedding was my most popular post that month. You just
That's crazy.
Show who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I can relate to that. So we've helped a recruiting and staffing firm. So think of a staffing agency that places like computer programmers in different businesses. And it was pretty crazy because the owner was having his people post out. So they post out some stats on like staffing or hiring consultants for your business, which kind of everybody knows. And then one of the guys like posted a picture of his dog playing in this big field in the backyard. And guess which one garnered the most attention, right? The dog. And the business owner needed to be educated at the time because he was actually chastising that employee for not like putting out what the little pre-created template banner was. But, in the end, it got more response. So kind of counterintuitive, right? And it's not saying post about dogs and puppies and weddings all the time, but I think the point is like, be a little real, dig a little deeper, get into the why. Because as you noted, people want to get to know who you are because at some point your services are kind of obvious, right? Like in our case, everybody knows a high level version of website and online marketing, but it's like, are these the right people for me? So I love what you said about that.
Absolutely. I also remember another one. This is a reason that video is really good and really valuable is that it gives you that just little more personal thing. So at one of the companies I worked for, it happened to be a recruiting firm. There was a guy who did really well with his social media and he would be talking about jobs he has opening, but he would do video of it. And I was watching one, I remember, and it was literally him in his car. It's the most casual, random video that you can think of. But it's what worked for him. He got a lot of business that way. People liked him. It became I want to call, now I'm forgetting his name. If I have an opening or if I'm looking for a job in that field, because that guy is cool. That's a nice guy. That guy looks like he's there to help me. And that's what pretty much all business owners want to portray.
Sure. All about getting that personality out front and letting them know, kind of a peek behind the curtain, what the company is kind of about. And that's appealing, to a lot of people for sure. And that's something that I think, a lot of companies definitely want to get across. So Deborah, let's move from the business side to the entrepreneurial side. Let's learn a little bit about Deborah, the person. Tell us about your entrepreneurial journey. How long have you been on this? Why did you start? Why did you start doing so? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So, like I said, it was about 7 years ago. I decided to take my first course in social media or my first certification. And since then, I've been working at different companies in different marketing roles that were also, but this was part of my job. But at the same time, I had also started a side hustle. I had a client that I was working with as a nonprofit throughout that whole time. So I was learning and working on it both at my job and with this one client on the side. And timing matters. I think it was about 1.5 years ago or so. I had been reading more and listening more to people who have side hustles and kind of how they grow them. And I was thinking, gee, maybe I'll grow this into a business one day. It would be, you have that little bit of a fantasy when you work in corporate, you have that little bit of a fantasy of working for yourself and not having to worry about how many vacation days you have and leaving work early on Friday, all that stuff that I haven't experienced yet. And, so it was in my head. But then last year when COVID hit, my company actually laid off quite a few people in their corporate offices, and I was one of them. And so I had a choice. I could either join the job market with thousands and thousands of other people competing for the same jobs. And as I was looking at the jobs, they didn't look all that interesting. Or I could accelerate my own timetable and start a business on my own at that point. And I decided that all of this happening and having lost my job was the universe telling me that this is the time to start it. So I went all in, took a business training course, kind of learned how to do the business side. I know how to do the social marketing side. Running a business is a totally different operation, a different skill set, different mindset for sure. And I'm very happy with how it's gone. So I've almost 1 year in now, basically, as my own business, and love all the clients I work with and looking forward to helping more.
Well, happy almost year anniversary. So on that end, you talked about things that you've been happy about, that kind of got you through. What would you say has been the most rewarding part of your entrepreneurial journey so far? If you had to pick one, I'm sure there's plenty of things that have been great about it. What's been the most rewarding thing that you found as you're coming up on the year mark?
That's a good question. One of the things I really like about helping small businesses, and the nonprofits I help are really small, is that you see more immediate results. Is that I can see very tangibly where I am helping someone. It's having a client that worked for me for 1 month, or it was actually less than a month, and she got a new client and that paid for it. That immediately can see that this works for them. And it helps them help more people. It helps them help their own family. It helps them be able to do what they love doing more, because they have help with this piece that they were struggling with, either avoiding or doing a lot and not seeing a lot of results. So that's been really rewarding. It's also, I love doing things like this, and I love getting out and teaching, and I've been doing some presentations lately, and just that feeling of being able to help people, of walking out of there, and especially after the question and answer session, that I love sharing what I know, and hopefully helping other people be able to move forward in their own thing and have their own confidence to try it.
And Deborah, you had mentioned something interesting in a previous discussion we had. So now for your clients, you're fully running the social schedules and stuff, but you're also seeing a need for training others and going into that role. And so like equipping the companies with the strategy, with the vision and the support to do it themselves, right? And then that would allow you to help other people? Tell us about that vision.
Sure. So yes, if you're doing all the management and most of the work for them, then that's one way that I help clients. But the other one that I've gotten into is people who want a little bit of help but aren't quite ready to outsource, is what it basically comes down to. Maybe it's not budget, maybe it's not willing to let go of doing it themselves, or wanting to do it themselves, which is a good thing. I actually encourage that. So I work with them as a strategist. I start by looking at everything they're doing at social right now, kind of see what's working, what's not, what we can do differently, give them a plan, give them a calendar, give them ideas about what to post. Like we said, a lot of it is people don't know what to say. There's a lot of different ways to approach that. So I give them a little bit more customized version of that, of what you can talk about that would be effective for your kind of business and who you're trying to attract, and then help them do their own social media better. Teach them there's a handful of changes to how you write things that make it much more effective. That if you're having trouble with photography, you have how to do better photos, how to do videos that do them better, how to get found online. A lot of people, you're like talking to your own little audience, but how do you find, the whole point, of course, is finding other people and bringing them into your world. So how do you do that? And also measuring everything. I think this is something a lot of people miss, is looking at your metrics lets you see what's working and what's not, so that you can stop doing what's not working and you can keep doing what is working. Because that's how you find out things like what I said before about the wedding post, or what you said about the dog post, that these are the things that work. And if sometimes doing something else, whether it's a statistic or curating content from a vendor, I see people do sometimes, and it doesn't seem very effective, why keep doing that? So kind of teaching them how to do all that themselves better, so that then they can go on and keep doing it.
For sure. That's good advice. And, you have decades of experience and a good handle on it and the hands-on work. So I think you're going to do well with that. Brett is going to transition us to one of the funnest parts of the podcast for us.
Yeah, Deborah, are you ready for the rapid fire round? It's coming off the hip. There's no time to prepare. We're getting crazy over here, Deborah. You ready for this?
Sure.
All right. So on the end of learning a little bit more about you, how do you stay energized outside of work? What's a favorite hobby of yours when you're not working? Kind of keep your mind sharp.
For me, it's running or hiking, sometimes walking. It's just getting outside and getting moving. And that's
Nice.
also when I get my best ideas. But it's just having to have that balance of your health and your personal life with the work. And obviously, I sit at a computer all day. So it's just you got to move.
Got to get outside. Got
and
to.
outside
Yeah.
for me, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
So Deborah, what is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
have more confidence in yourself. I think it took a very long time, both on a personal level and professional level, to get to where I feel like having confidence in what I have to share and what I have to offer.
Very good. Absolutely. What is let's see, what book do you highly recommend? Give us a good one. I need something new to read. Going crazy over here. Got to read something new. What you got?
So one of the books that's been most meaningful for me in the last several years was Brene Brown's Daring Greatly. And for me, it was more of a person. I found her work. It's part of kind of a trilogy. I came across her work as I was going into a divorce and then coming out of it. But I think it applies to a lot of things. And again, it's that being willing to take risks and having confidence that you can get through it and being yourself.
Nice. Yeah, what's cool, Deborah, I want to add in there. So I really enjoyed meeting you. So we barely saw each other at a networking conference. Then we got on the Zoom call, and I could tell you really knew what you were talking about. And then, you know, in the pandemic, you took another risk to start your own thing, right?
Yep.
And then going through a divorce is no small matter either. And I know Brene Brown's work. I think, what was it, Daring Greatly, or the first book she wrote? So that's really cool. It sounds like you've assimilated this stuff and really stepped out. And like, you know, how'd that make you feel? Like, probably pretty liberating, scary at first, but then you're like, oh my God, I got this. Like, I do have a voice. I can start a business. What was that like?
It's exactly all that. And the funny thing is, I have a stepdaughter that I want to teach this to, that you have to take it's a weird order of operations. Like, we normally want to have the confidence first to do something, but that's not the way it works. You need to do the thing that scares you. And then you then have evidence that you can do the thing that scares you. You survived, you probably did well, you might have thrived, and then you can do it again. It gives you the confidence to go for it the next time. And that's a very different way of thinking than I think a lot of us have, whether or not we were raised that way deliberately. It's just kind of how we end up thinking. Like, it's hard to take risks, and there's no question about that. That's why they're called risks. You have to be open to the change, but it's things like, yeah, the hardest thing I've done in my life was get a divorce, but it also taught me that I'm capable of doing hard things.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Well, appreciate the vulnerability there. And yeah, congrats. Because like I said, when I saw you in the other, and I was really impressed, hence having you on the podcast and talking more business together. All right, Brett, what's the final question?
Yeah, last one. Deborah, tell us one thing that you're deeply grateful for right now. The first thing that comes to mind. Go.
My husband. The person that I end up sitting with, you know, for the last year, the only other person in the house. We've tolerated each other, done better than tolerate each other. But he's a great partner. Like I said, both kind of me starting a business, you know, that takes someone else having faith in you and confidence in you.
Sure.
To be okay with me doing that. And he doesn't understand half of what I do, but he's okay with it, you know. Like, why am I doing it? That's why he's like, okay, you know what you're doing. And that's really comforting, but he's also really good at listening and has a lot of business experience himself. So in terms of someone good to bounce things off of in a lot of ways. So
that's fantastic.
Every day it's that person you're with. So
that's right. Very good. Very good. That's fantastic. So, Deborah, we had so much fun having you today and getting to know you a little bit better. Tell our people, we're going to have it in the links, we're going to have it in the description and stuff, but tell us a little bit more about how to connect with you, how to find out more about what you do.
Sure. So you can find me, no surprise, all over social media. It's Finestone Marketing Solutions on Facebook, LinkedIn. It's Finestone MS on Twitter, and Finestone Marketing on Instagram. My website is dfinestone.com. And if you go to any of those, you can also find where to download, if you're interested, the content calendar that I use and I give to clients.
Wow.
So it's like that first piece of what I do. You don't have me doing the strategy behind it. But if you're one of those many people who struggles with what do I talk about, then go check it out.
Very good. Awesome. Very good. So everyone go check out more from Deborah. Stay in touch with her. Deborah, we really appreciate you coming on today and hanging out with us. You are awesome, and we have to do it again soon. We had a blast with you today, Deborah. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. I had a great time too.
You got it. We'll do it again soon. So everyone, we will see you again next week with another host for the next Create With Us podcast episode. Thank you so much for joining us, and everyone, enjoy your Wednesday. We'll see you later.